This is the Chario Aviator Ghibli, and this particular model is a very special one. This particular unit is part of a small collection of 50th anniversary editions, which we have in a very special custom finish in the all black look. So for those of you who are familiar with the Chario range, you'll know that they are renowned for their work with rich Italian walnut, which create these beautiful harmonious curves in all of their speakers. This particular pair is very special because, as you can see, they are marked and made up in a very special gloss black finish. Now, this is a little unusual to see in a Chario, and for those of you familiar with the brand and who know a little bit about their history, it's quite unique to see the speaker look quite like this. This is something that Chario did many years ago, but in more recent history, they've stuck very strictly to their use of walnut because, again, they perfected the way that they had the speakers to look, the way that they had the finish, and honestly, it's a timeless design, and it's hard to really see Charios in anything but their traditional kind of wood with the matte centers. However, because of the 50th anniversary, they decided to explore the idea of alternative finishes again, and with that 50th anniversary, we went ahead and partnered with Chario and created these special pair, which of course feature the gloss black sides, still in the rich Italian walnut, obviously just with a nice kind of coat of paint, and then again obviously still the traditional black center. So this collection is part of only a very small run. There's 5 models of this finish total in the world. So it's a very unique, very rare speaker to have, and as I'm sure you can tell from the video here, it certainly jumps out at you when you see it. And again, have a lot of very unique features and technologies that make them stand out amongst the crowd, and ultimately are a top choice for a lot of audio enthusiasts, especially those who are a big fan of that Italian sound that we are here at Reference Audio Distribution. So what makes these particularly special? Well, as I mentioned, we've got the black finish, which is the key takeaway from this. Overall, it's a beautifully done finish. We actually had a little bit of a sort of time delay in getting these finishes because Chario were so particular with how it had to be done. They did a first run of it, they looked it over, they weren't happy. We were kind of like, you know, we need these speakers, we need them, you know, we have people who are looking them, and they're like, nope, they're not good enough. We're holding back, we're delaying it, and we're doing us right. And you know, while that can be a little bit frustrating, you have to really appreciate the dedication and time that goes into something like that. And you know, whenever you're at that level and you're willing to hold back orders and things like that, just to make sure that they are right and they're 100% to your liking, you know, as a manufacturer, that's a level of dedication that is very hard to find, especially in today's market. So it's a credit to Chario to working so hard to get this finish, and I mean, in the flesh, it is phenomenal. I'm not sure if the video is able to do it justice. If you can happen to catch a pair of these, you know, in person, simply wow is all I can really say for them. They are a very exciting speaker. Of course, they are based on the traditional Chario Ghibli, so they have all of the key features and you know, exciting specifications that you'll find with the Chario that we'll speak a little bit about. Obviously, I have sort of both versions of the speakers here. You can see it on its traditional stand. Again, same stand that comes with the traditional Ghibli. And as well, we can also see it on the side here on its own feet that it comes with. Now, whenever you have a Chario Ghibli, you have to have it raised up slightly from whatever platform you're putting it on. And the reason for that is because they are downward ported. So you hit a little bit of elevation on them to make sure you can just really get that air out from the bottom. So again, that's why the design of the stand is very meticulously thought out, because it lets that air travel down the stand. And again, they come with pre-installed feet on the speaker altogether. So again, if you're not planning to go with the stand, you know, they've got that figured into the key points. So you're always getting that highest level of performance out of the Chario. You know, if in an event you were trying to put it just flat on a tabletop or anything like that, you're hindering the sound. So it's great that, you know, Chario went into that and they've offered you a couple of different options to how you can achieve the best out of their speakers right out of the gate. So looking more at the speaker itself, obviously they have a very unique stance and style. They're not a traditional box shape. And with an Italian brand, that's sort of what you come to expect these days. They don't exactly do things the norm. So as you can see with it, they have a very slight tilt in the design. You have these beautiful side panels which have these curved notches carved into them, and where they just seamlessly join the wood together, which is just a beautiful piece of artistic choice. Again, it adds a certain level of rigidity to the cabinet and chassis of the speaker. So again, that's how you're getting that key performance levels that you'll only find with the Chario speaker as opposed to other brands. And again, it's a design that is as carefully thought about in terms of its performance as it is about its aesthetic, because ultimately these are as close to almost works of art as you will also get with a traditional speaker. You know, they are very heavily influenced in their aesthetic appeal, and that's something that Chario have thought a lot about when it comes to the design of not only the Ghibli but the rest of the speaker range altogether. A truly remarkable speaker, definitely unlike anything you sort of see in the market, but what's really nice about the Charios is that they have a very fluent design language across the range. So if you see the first model in the range all the way up to the highest one, you are almost certain you can identify that brand right off the bat, which again is one of those things that are easily overlooked these days because a lot of manufacturers are trying to balance manufacturing techniques, trying to balance big teams and stuff like that. You know, Chario have really hit the nail on the head, and that they have the perfect collection of people working on this where they can keep a really strict design philosophy that pleases their audience, that, you know, stays true to the roots of the brand while also implementing a nice modern take and sort of contemporary living style to the speakers that they're producing at the time. So beneath this beautiful exterior, we do have a lot of very interesting technologies packed into the design. Right off the bat, you can probably see the reversed alignment of the woofer and the tweeter. In this case, obviously, you see the tweeter lower down than the woofer, which is a patent design from Chario's in-house technologies. And essentially, the reason they've done this is to help with the timing and the alignment that the sound reaches to you. And again, this is something that's been heavily researched by Chario. And again, they have lots of information about it on the website if you want to read up on. That sort of explains why they have these more unorthodox approaches to speaker design and why they're different than the competitors. And again, they're not simply just putting in the same driver that you're seeing across the board everywhere. They have very strict technologies, very strict ideas as to how they're implementing these designs and how exactly they are getting the best sound out of their speakers. The woofer itself is 130 millimeter poly woofer. So again, getting a really nice rich sound out of that. The low frequency management is also unique. It uses a downfiring vented system, and this clever port system is inspired by hydraulic conduits, controlling internal air pressure and delivering surprisingly deep, consistent bass. So in regards to the sound quality, the Ghibli is everything that you would expect a Chario speaker to deliver. It gives you a very warm, very natural sound, and obviously very musical off the bat. Big part of Chario's design philosophy is that they want the speakers to essentially disappear out of the room. So what you're hearing, what you're experiencing is essentially as close to having an artist physically just sitting in front of you. So again, as you're listening, if you were to close your eyes, the idea is that as you hear, these speakers simply disappear into the space. You know, they are just part of the room, they're part of the noise. And again, you don't have this very ominous kind of presence that, you know, you're having these very distinctive sounds to your left and right. And it's a very clever design from Chario to integrate that and kind of make the listening experience feel a lot more natural, feel a lot closer than essentially what a real artist's impression of the music would be. You know, whether that's a live concert performance or, you know, simply having someone physically playing the music in front of you. That's a lot of what Chario's philosophy is based around, how they design their cabinets, how they design their, you know, arrangement of drivers, tweeters, etc. So again, what they've done with this is they've added a very rich sound. The downfiring port gives a lot of bass out of it for even a small size of cabinet, which is really impressive. It does exactly what you need it to do. It works with quite a large scope of music. I'd say that it works particularly well, especially if you're into that more sort of classical, I think that's very instrumental, very, you know, very musical essentially. They will work very well with, they'll pair particularly nicely with, and overall they just are a very well-rounded speaker. Again, they will handle anything you throw at them quite well, but again, as I say, tailored very specifically to that really musical sense. They'll suit very well. So overall, it's a very, very impressive speaker and something that's really exciting to see. Obviously, it shakes the norm of the traditional Chario brand, but in a really exciting and engaging way. And I think it's going to be something that a lot of people will like to get their hands on, but unfortunately probably won't, because as I mentioned, there is only 5 pairs of these available altogether, which is crazy to think because honestly, they're difficult not to take home yourself right here and there. So hopefully you've enjoyed this. Hopefully you have a little bit more of an idea of what Chario brand is, and especially what Chario are capable of doing, especially on such a sort of momentous occasion as a 50th anniversary. It's really exciting to see how they are going back to their roots and engaging, with their fan base, with the audio lovers who have sort of followed them for many, many years. Some of you may recognize their earlier speakers and earlier designs and stuff, and how this is a remnant of it. So it's really engaging to see, and hopefully we see something like this again in the future. Again, we're not sure exactly what direction Chario will take moving forward, but if this is anything to go by, it will be very, very exciting. Thank you very much for watching. Let us know your thoughts on the Charios, and very specifically these special edition Charios. What are your thoughts? Do you like the finish? Would you try something different? What would you do if you could modify a Chario in any way you could? Let us know your thoughts, and if you want any more information on Chario overall or anything specific from our range, please feel free to either drop us a comment or go to our website for our contact details. Thanks again for watching, and have a great day.